When it comes to engaging people casually and informally, or even from a stage, storytelling is so important. You may tell stories about what happened to you last weekend or what happened to you, when you were a kid. Sharing your personal story really connects, and learning other people's stories does as well. And there's a lot of mess in the backstory, but you can turn that mess into a message. And when it comes to leadership and connecting with an audience about your mission, about your organization, about your business, it really helps when you can somehow tie who you are and where you've come from to who you are now and why you do what you do. Here are some photos of my mom and my dad, and you can see particularly pictures here of my mom as a young girl, as a young mom, as a young wife. And she's really one of my heroes, and she's such a big influence in my own story. Her story unfolded from Salinas, California, down to Los Angeles, where she became a really significant person in the lives of many people. She was a grandma. You can see her with her grandchildren, her when they were small, and then when they got bigger, you can see her kids, and that's her 75th birthday. My mom was beloved and super influential in my own story, and you really can't understand me without understanding how important she was to me and her influence in my life. So there are going to be in your own story key people who play a part in your story. When you talk about any particular episode, when you were a child, when you were a teenager, later on, whatever the episode, whenever it took place, the setting, you need to talk about some of the characters who were there so people can understand what was going on. When you talk about characters, you can't leave out the most important character in your story, which is you. Don't leave yourself out. Talk about who you were at that time and what your thoughts were and what your feelings were and how the events and the people helped to shape you. These are just elements of storytelling, and we see them in the timeless stories of the scriptures. And so, even in the story of Ruth, we read about a man. It says, a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and two sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. That's the setting. There's the man, there's his wife and two sons, and they had names. The man's name was Elimelech, his wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his two sons were Mahlon and Chilion. People matter. These are people who are not kings, they're not prophets, they're not world changers, but they're small people in the biblical story, but they're big in the heart of God because little people really matter a lot to God. And it says that they were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, which is the same Bethlehem that Jesus would be born in hundreds and hundreds of years later, the same Bethlehem. And they went to Moab and lived there. Why? We learned in our last video, it's because of a famine. They were refugees. So there's situations, there's settings, there's events, and there are people. And these people are really, really important. And so let me ask you to think about your own story now. And if you think about a particular episode that you might tell other people about, what were you missing? What were you wanting? What were you doing at this time in your life? Were you in school? Were you working? And who else can't be left out of the story for us to really understand it? You're going to talk about characters, but especially about yourself, about your highs and about your lows. In my mom's story, in the middle of it is my dad, and Angie Garcia met Carlos Garcia, or Angie Martel met Carlos Garcia, and you can see they were a handsome couple. There was a lot of joy there. They had some really good times, and you know what? Along with their high highs, there were some low lows. There were some profoundly painful seasons in their life. That's really important to the storytelling. We'll talk about that more in our next video. But I just want to encourage you to connect your story to your backstory, because somehow what you experienced how you grew up, the experiences you had, the highs and lows, the people, they shaped you into the person you are now and connect to what you do now. And so I'm a coach because, I came from a family that had some really profound experiences where there was a lot of heartache, and that led me to become a pastor. And later on, led me to become a coach to people like me, to people with pain in their backstories and families that matter to them. I care about why people do what they do as much as what they do. And so, when it comes to my own coaching today, I really care about people's backstory, and I have a heart for people because of my own journey and because of my own father and my mother and my siblings and the things that we experienced as a family, just like Elimelech and Naomi did in their lives. So think about your own story, connect it to what you do and your big why. That's how you turn your mess into a message. So we'll talk more about this, and next time we're going to talk about the lows, the losses, the pain, and the problems that really shape us and give our story heart. I look forward to talking with you more. We'll see you at our next video. Bye bye now.